Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Prince.
My name is Theo.
And today we're talking about the 3 books that changed our lives.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
The 3 books that changed my life are the 4-Hour Work Week, the 15 Laws of Success, and This Naked Mind.
And my 3 books are The Power of Now, The Charisma Myth, and The Laws of Success as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with my first book. My first book is the 4-Hour Work Week,
Nice.
which is a really great book. I think it's a really great book because the overarching aim or theme of the book is that it teaches you to emancipate yourself, I guess, to an extent from the shackles of having to work a 9 to 5, and then liberating your time and location.
So are you saying a 9 to 5 is necessarily a bad thing or not really?
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It all comes down to the individual and the person. So if you want, I guess, to have a little bit more liberation of your time and location and not having to be tied down to a 9 to 5, this book is great. It's fantastic.
So what are like the 3 kind of takeaways you took from the book?
Yeah, so there's 3 main tools that I took away from this book. Parkinson's Law, Pareto Principle, and then the third one is management by absence.
Oh, nice.
So Parkinson's Law basically is the idea that any work that you give yourself, it expands to fill in whatever deadline you were set from the beginning. So the idea is that you want to try and set yourself a provisional deadline, a provisional time, so that you can basically complete the work as soon as possible. The whole idea is basically to try and eliminate the unwanted things and then just focus on things that actually really matter and important. So that's the Parkinson's Law.
That seems interesting. So you kind of set yourself a quick deadline, try and meet it, and then that makes you complete the work faster and take out the chaff.
Yeah.
Okay.
You complete the fantastic things. You can always go back because you have more time now to actually go back and make improvements and all this kind of stuff. So it's great stuff. It's great. The next principle is the 80-20% rule. The 80-20% rule basically states that, look, 20% of your input produces 80% of your desired results,
right?
And 20% of your input produces 80% of your undesired results.
So do you have to take away the 20% that doesn't produce the results you want and kind of be more efficient in the way you work?
Yeah, precisely. The whole idea here is that you're trying to eliminate the unwanted, I guess, resources, the unwanted things, and you're trying to focus on the things that basically is going to bring about, I guess, the desired results.
Oh, nice.
That's the whole point of the 80-20% rule.
Okay, so we've had Pareto, we've had Parkinson's. What's the third one?
The third one is management by absence. So this is great, yeah. You're gonna love this. So this is basically the idea that you want to try and create a business. You want to try and create a business that does not necessarily need your presence for it to actually function. Yeah. So whatever business you create, you want to ensure that it basically runs without Prince having to be there or Theo having to be there. And by so doing, going back to that definition, or the key caveat there, which is I guess, liberation over your time and location.
Yeah. Oh, nice. It sounds amazing. I'll have to read it at some point.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, this book actually helped me. It was the main driver for doing this YouTube videos and also the podcast. And the link is going to be below, so you guys can check it out.
Yeah. So my first book is The Charisma Myth. Now this is a book which I think you bought a couple of years ago and has been sitting on a shelf for a while collecting dust. So I kind of picked it up, had a look through it, and I think charisma is something that everybody wants to have at some point, or want to work on to try and get better at. You want to be able to speak to people, you want to be able to make deeper relationships and stuff like that. So something which really intrigued me and something that got me reading. To briefly summarize and then go into the key points, I think one thing that kind of changed, kind of had a paradigm shift when I read this book was the fact that there's different charisma for every single person. So my charisma is different to your charisma, it's different to the Dalai Lama's charisma. Everyone's charisma is a little bit different. So that's kind of like the paradigm shift I had. And then the 3 key points which I use on a daily basis, I'd say now, is the listening skills I learned from this book, the responsibility transfer, which is a tool to deal with anxiety and difficult situations, and the third point is actually the gratitude practice, which this book kind of gave me. Gratitude is something that can really change your mindset and the way you feel about situations and stuff like that. So I've been doing that a lot more on a regular basis, and it's really changed my outlook on life. So I mean, this book is Yeah. I'd say top 3, and it's not 3, and it might be 2 or first. I'm not too sure, but we'll get into the other books. And
so, would you say you're more charismatic after reading this book then?
I don't know. It's for obvious to say, but I think I've improved, and there's always room for growth. So why not? Keep on improving.
Okay, Prince. So the next book we're going to be talking about is the 15 Laws of Success.
Yes. So a quick summary of the book. This book is about how to attain success, as it says in the title, and kind of like the laws and the principles to get there, and tools which you can practice along the way.
Yeah, I think that when you leave university, especially more so for me, you're always looking at principles and ways in which you can succeed in the real world. That's I guess we're all trying to figure out this adulting thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first point we're going to talk about is self-confidence, and within self-confidence there's a tool in there that it talks about, which is auto-suggestion. And auto-suggestion basically is the idea that your subconscious mind actually controls and has an effect on your presentation and how you behave. One way in which I sort of try to condition the subconscious is by reading affirmations and having a vision board. So I've got a vision board of all the things I want to achieve, and I look at my vision board every morning, and I read my affirmations in the morning before I leave for work. So it's great.
Yeah, and sticking on the topic of self-confidence, there's a story in the book which really stuck with me, and that's a story about a man who had some artistic skills that he could offer to the world and possibly change people's lives. But he was kind of, he heard that, putting himself out there was very egotistical. So what he did was he kind of stayed in his shell and didn't put his work out there. This story really stuck with me, and it kind of changed my mind in the sense that I really don't want it to be the case that I regret not putting my work out there because I was too scared of being criticized.
Of course. And there's a saying that in the graveyards there's a lot of dreams and unfulfilled talent and ambitions and stuff, and who knows what they could have done with a bit of self-confidence.
Exactly.
It really is.
So the next point is habit of saving.
Look, I think habit of saving is great. I think that anything you want to do in this world is really good. When you have a bit of money, do you know what I mean, to actually invest. I'm not saying money is everything, but having a bit is really good. It's great.
Well, according to the Wu-Tang Clan, cream, cash rules everything around me. So
cream. Exactly.
So cash is important.
One of the best philosophers of our time, Wu-Tang Clan. Auto-suggestion is a running theme, right, throughout this book. In self-confidence, it talks about auto-suggestion, and then habit of saving, guess what? It talks about auto-suggestion as well. And you can use auto-suggestion as a way in which you can actually sort of condition the subconscious to kind of live frugally to an extent, and not be extravagant when it comes to spending and all this kind of stuff. So it's great, it really is. And then the second point it talks about is it gives you a general rule of thumb, in terms of how you apportion your money and how you spend your money. So it's just something along the lines of put 50% towards your overheads, 30% for recreation and education, and then 20% for savings. At least 20% for savings. Look, when I read this book, there was a shift in paradigm. There's a shift in paradigm from saving what's left to spending what's left. What I do generally now is actually spend what's left, and actually pay myself and put the money, in terms of investment and all this kind of stuff. And it really is.
So in a sense, saving has taken a step up in your list of priorities when it comes to handling your money.
I mean, I always have the common sense, but look, common sense isn't always a common practice.
Nice.
And this book gives you, practical steps to actually implement these things in your life. So it's great.
Beautiful.
It really is.
So the next point we're talking about is definite chief aim. Now, this is one of the chapters that really, we use this phrase quite a bit, but it was a real paradigm shift for me, because it made me realize that I don't actually know what exactly I wanted out of life.
Another running theme is paradigm shift.
Yes. Throughout the book. So if you had to ask me a couple years ago, what do you want in life? I would have said success, but that is super vague. And for the first time in my life, I sat down, wrote exactly what I wanted in life and the steps I was going to take to get there. And what I did was using auto-suggestion. Shock. I used this to kind of, program my mind into wanting to achieve that goal. And I found myself in more situations where I could take out tips and tricks which could help me in achieving that goal. And it says in the book, the man who knows exactly what he wants is halfway to getting there. And I think that is, an amazing quote which I can really back. So I guess now we're going to talk about how it changed our lives.
I mean, Should I start?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I mean, how it's changed my life. The main things are get rid of my debt and actually, having a paradigm shift in terms of like, you know, like I said in the beginning, saving what's left to spending what's left to saving what's left.
Yes.
Saving what's left
to spending what is left. Yeah. As a tongue twister for sure.
Yeah.
For me, the fear of criticism is something that I really learned to manage through reading this book. You create a lot of stuff, and being creative, you have to learn to you know handle the fear of criticism in order to put your work out there. And in putting your work out there, who knows, you know, what service you might be doing to the wider community around you. So that's something that for sure has really changed in me reading this book.
Yeah, Yofi makes great music. He does, you know, and the music is fantastic. Like I always say, you know, that Jay-Z is the standard, you know?
Right?
Gets to Jay-Z. You know? He's not there yet. He's got ambitions to get to Jay-Z standard.
There's no standards. I set my own standards.
For me, Jay-Z is the standard. Yeah.
Sweet. Moving on to the next book. Now moving on to our third books each.
Yeah, my book is This Naked Mind. I'm going to talk about how I guess started reading this book. I had a conversation with a colleague of mine at work, and there were some points that she raised which I basically did not sort of like agree with. It didn't sit quite right with me. It was a point-counterpoint argument, and eventually she was like, you know what, Theo, I'm going to bring you the book since you're being all stubborn about this. So she brought the book. I went home and I read it, and you know, it was really good because it gave me a different perspective on alcohol.
Oh, nice.
So the book is basically about alcohol, basically, and then Grace basically outlines a range of perceptions and tries to debunk them using, you know, a range of, you know, research theories and, you know, psychological therapies and stuff. So the three key tools, Prince, that I learned from this book, the first two is basically the perception that when I start drinking, I can always quit alcohol whenever I want to. That's the perception, and I'm always in control of my alcohol intake. Now, there's a very fantastic analogy over here that basically, to an extent, you know, debunks that perception. And look, I'm not preaching or saying that, you know, you don't have control. You may have control, but listen to this analogy. Yeah. So Prince, there's a pitcher plant, and pitcher plant produces sweet, intoxicating nectar.
Okay.
Yeah. Insects like sweet
nectar,
intoxicating nectar.
Yeah.
So the insect is flying past this pitcher plant, and it smells this, and it's like, oh my god, this smells so nice. Insect flies into the rim of the plant and starts to sip on this sweet intoxicating nectar.
Okay.
You know, after some time, before it realizes, you know, it can see a lot of dead bees and insects around it, and it's like, oh crap, like what is going on? I need to fly off. I need to get off. And it tries to fly away, but then it realizes that it's intoxicated. It's basically drunk.
Right. So what you're saying is he can't make a beeline for the exit.
Yeah, if you like. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So he couldn't make an exit, basically. So the point here that, you know, the book is trying to make is that, you know, yes, while you're reading it, you may not necessarily know how bad your habits have become, and it's basically going to take one major life event for you to drink more and more, and for the habits to get out of hand, I guess. The second point that it talks about is, you know, there's a perception that alcohol, I guess, to an extent, would get rid of my stresses and my anxieties.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get a lot of this with your patients and stuff. They come in, we try to have a discussion. They say that, you know, I drink alcohol because it gets rid of my stresses and my anxieties. Yes, in the short term it may do, but I think the important thing is to notice that stress and anxiety is caused by stressors. And you actually need to tackle the stressor, what's actually causing the stress and anxiety.
So I guess in a sense it numbs the symptoms rather than taking care of the cause of the pain.
Exactly, precisely. So you have to actually tackle the pain.
Okay.
And the last one we're going to talk about is that alcohol is going to loosen me up and make me have good sex.
How would you debunk that, I guess?
Look, I think that, you know, being a shy individual, being an introvert, there's nothing wrong with that. Look, I think it is important to actually, you know, own who you are and be comfortable in your own skin, essentially. And you know, the idea that it makes you have good sex, I don't know about that. You know, obviously there are, you know, look, it increases your urges to have sex, but then in terms of like, you know, the endurance and all this kind of stuff, there's research that proves that it doesn't actually improve endurance. And secondly, you know, it's proven that it basically depresses the nervous center.
My book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Now, I came across this book a couple years ago whilst I was procrastinating from doing uni work, as you do. You know, from the first video, I was really hooked on this Eckhart Tolle. From reading the book, there's one word which I can use to sum it up, and that is enlightenment, which is a very heavy word, and everyone's got their own definitions. But for Eckhart Tolle, enlightenment is basically just, you know, the stopping to incessant thinking and to suffering. So the two main points I took from this book. So the first is that, you know, we are not our thoughts. You know, our thoughts are not, you know, our reality.
That's interesting.
I'm sure it happened to you or happened to you a couple of times when you've had thoughts about situations and that's produced a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Only to find out that the situation which you're anxious about, you know, doesn't turn out the way you actually wanted to, or the way you thought it would.
Yeah.
So like these kind of thoughts are not actually the reality of the situation, and understanding that can actually help you, you know, become less stressful and deal with situations much better. So the second point I took from this book is that suffering comes through like desires or cravings for a situation other than the one you're currently in. So say, for example, we going for a run. We like to go for our runs, right, in the morning and stuff. Say you're going for your run and, you know, you're suffering a lot. You're feeling a lot of pain during this run. It's probably not a physical pain, you know, it's more like a mental pain. Ask yourself, you know, do I wish to be somewhere else than where I am right now? And if the answer to that question is yes, then that shows that the pain you're feeling is because there's a battle going on between the moment you are in right now and your mental state. You don't want to be in this moment, and that creates that suffering. So understanding that can then lead to you realizing that you know, the now is all you really ever have, which is also Eckhart's main point.
I guess it was the main book of the main title of the book is The Power of Now.
Exactly.
I think it's you know, what you're saying is quite profound because you know, oftentimes when I'm running, the only time the pain actually compounds is when I'm actually thinking, you know what, like I could be home,
chilling.
That's the only time that the pain actually compounds. And I think that you know, hit the nail on the head over there in terms of actually, you know, remaining in the present moment and actually ruminating or thinking of the future.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm glad it can help you, you know, relieve some pain whilst you're running.
Yes,
because it's definitely helped me during my exercises and during my workouts and stuff. So,
yes, you still pant every now and then. You look like you're in pain and stuff. But I think that
you don't?
Nah.
Nice. Right. How it's changed my life. You know, okay, I'm not gonna say I'm enlightened or anything. I don't even know if I'm close to it or not. I know I still experience pain and suffering when I pour the cereal and there's no milk left, you know.
Ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
But what I can say is that it's really made me a much more calmer person. I'm less stressed, I would say. I'm less anxious than I was a couple of years ago, and I can deal with, you know, tough situations a lot better. So yeah, definitely check out the description and the link below. We'll have a link to cop that book and, you know, to kind of help you along your spiritual journey as well.
Yes, it's great stuff. And, you know, I just want to say in relation to the, you know, there's nothing here we're preaching and we're saying, look, you have to do this or you know, you must do this. Look, I guess in life it's good to see things from a different angle, and you know, we're always aiming to move the conversation forward in life, and you know, to try and, you know, evolve as human beings, and essentially that's all we're you know, that's all we're seeing, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, absolutely.
Nothing is forced, you know. It's up to you. It's up to, you know, your individual self if you want to do something. So yeah. So anything else, bro?
That's it.
Okay, so leave your comments down below, share the video, subscribe, the whole shebang,
all of that,
and see you in the next video.
Yeah, check out the podcast as well.
Yeah, don't forget to check out the podcast and my music and everything else.
Yeah, right.